How GTA San Andreas broke the barriers of the PlayStation 2. Now, I first played GTA San Andreas on computer. Absolutely loved the game, but I remember the first time I had it, I didn't have audio, so I didn't really get context. So it was years later when I got the game, played it, loved every bit of it, started modding a lot for, my advanced people, the IMG tools, the texture, DF, I'm just speaking in gibberish, but this video by MKTS talks about how it pushed the PlayStation 2 beyond its limits. We're gonna check that out. I'm intrigued about this video.
The fact that GTA runs on the PlayStation 2 is actually insane. And I'm serious, because if you think about it, it has a 36-kilometer map combined with 3 cities, a gigantic countryside, airplanes, trains, parachutes, gang wars, all running on a console from the year 2000, with a 300 MHz processor and only 32 megabytes of RAM. To give you an idea, the photo you took yesterday with your cell phone probably weighs more than the entire memory of the PlayStation 2 running the state of San Andreas.
Yeah, I'm very impressed how Rockstar was able to get like a game with that big of a scope and scale on the PlayStation 2. With games that I remember that I played on PS2, they were mainly like linear-ish. There was a game I played, it was called Dark Summit, but it wasn't open. That game was linear as hell. Like, it was pretty much just Skate 1, Skate 2. The scope wasn't there, and Simpsons skateboarding. I remember playing that game as well as Splashdown. But the scope, like with GTA SA, I feel like it was the first of its kind. Well, not the first of its kind, free, but I feel like Rockstar took San Andreas to the next level. And it was, yeah, insanity. So the fact that a picture has more memory than this game, despite it being static, yeah, wow, they did a good job with it.
And yet Rockstar Games was able to push the console so far to its limit that it almost broke. The number one enemy of San Andreas wasn't the graphics or the physics, it was the memory. The PlayStation 2 had a very unusual and powerful design for its time, but it also had a big weakness. It only had 32 megabytes of RAM, which is extremely small, and this created a huge challenge for game developers. In the earlier games like GTA 3 and Vice City, the world was split into smaller sections. You couldn't travel the whole map at once without some kind of hidden loading screen. That's why there were bridges or tunnels connecting different areas.
Okay, now that I think about it, wait, did the GTA 3? I mean, obviously, if you walk out the doors and then that's the loading screen, but pretty much if you were driving around in those games, oh no, they did have loading screens because when you went into city, it would show the banner of welcome to that city. Okay, yeah. But I don't think GTA SA had any loading screens like that. So I guess that was another thing Rockstar was able to fix.
Those were clever tricks to give the game time to load the next part. But San Andreas aimed to do something way better. Rockstars wanted players to drive across the entire map from Los Santos to San Fierro to Las Venturas without any loading screens at all. On paper, this shouldn't have been possible on the PS2. There simply wasn't enough memory to hold the entire world at once. So instead of loading everything, the game fakes it. The world isn't fully there all the time. It's constantly being built and erased in real time, right in front of you. This illusion is made possible by something called the renderware streaming engine. Think of it like this. You're speeding down the...
I'm not sure if he's going to mention, this might be what he's talking about, but one thing Rockstar did do is, part of the reason as to why the game was so misty was to hide the game being loaded. But obviously the definitive edition, they got rid of that because they didn't have that limitation anymore. But the mist not only added the technical element, but it added a vibe of San Andreas being so tropical and moody, and that's what a lot of players loved about the game. So if he mentions that this was one of them, I hope he does, or maybe they decided to add that as a secondary feature. I'm not sure yet.
Around in a fast car. The game only keeps in memory what you can currently see and what you're about to see. As you move forward, it quickly removes buildings and objects behind you and loads new ones from the disk ahead of you. This happens non-stop every single second. Now, because the memory is so limited, the game has to be very aggressive. It deletes anything it thinks you don't need anymore. to make room for new data. If you've ever played the game yourself, you might have noticed that if you suddenly turn the camera around, you'd see missing buildings or blurry textures
they all start
that take a
disappearing.
moment to load properly. But the DVD is where we reach the physical breaking point. In San Andreas, it was so massive that it wouldn't fit on a standard single layer DVD. Rockstar had to use a dual layer disc, and that was very rare at the time. The problem is that reading data from a normal DVD is slow.
I've never heard of a dual layer disc. If someone can put in the comments and enter specifics, that would be very great. I don't think any of the games I played did have that. I think it was just normal discs. I don't know. I want to be if anyone, any PlayStation 2 veterans, tell me what that means. I'll gladly appreciate it.
Actually, you have a physical laser that has to move across the disc to find the texture data of a tree, then jump to another part of the disc to find the sound, and then jump again to load the voice of an NPC. The PlayStation 2's laser had to jump back and forth across the disc hundreds of times per second to keep up with your driving. And this had a really bad side effect. The game broke consoles, literally. The older PlayStation 2 models, the bigger ones that were already a few years old, started to fail. The layers inside had to work so hard and make so many random reading jumps that it simply gave up. The disk read error message became the nightmare of thousands of games. Rockstars had created a software so demanding that the physical hardware couldn't keep up without.
So did Sony fix this issue?
Let's return to memory, because this is where engineering truly gets creative.
Wait, but did Sony ever fix that issue though, of what he just spoke about? Or did the PlayStation, because I know that the PlayStation 3 also had issues, but what you just mentioned there was very interesting. So a lot of games couldn't perform at the full capacity with that dual DVD thing. And I never heard of that. Never.
They couldn't carry everything, they had to sacrifice a lot. I don't know if you've ever noticed that when you drive a sports car, suddenly all the cars you see on the street.
Oh my god! Oh. And I used to hate this while modding the game as well, but I imagine he's gonna explain this because the game couldn't handle different types of cars with that 32-bit short memory. I don't think the other games had this issue. I think GTA 4 also had this issue, but 5 I don't think did. No, but this was definitely an annoying feature, and you know, I guess it was unfortunate because you'd be driving in the countryside with, I think that's a cheat or Infernus, and then you see other cheaters or Infernuses in places where there's not supposed to be cheaters and Infernuses. So yeah, this was definitely a cumbersome feature.
Are also sports cars? Or why is it that if you drive a taxi, you only see other taxis? Many thought this was a bug, but it wasn't. It was a RAM survival trick. The game has a strict limit on how many different car models it could load at the same time. Let's say that limit is 5 unique models. If you drive a sports car, that model is already taking up space in your memory.
It becomes one
to
of them.
save resources, the game said, well, I already have the texture, so I'm going to make all the cars in the traffic the same car from the one I already have loaded. That's why the traffic in San Andreas sometimes felt so repetitive. This was the price to pay.
Wait, but did they not fix this in the definitive edition though? Or is this also an engine? It can't be an engine issue because he just said it's a memory issue, and with the new games that's removed. I know with like Mass Effect, the original Mass Effects, the game had a lot of memory issues that BioWare couldn't do certain things with, but that was gone in Legendary Edition, so that's why the game looks so much different. But I'm a bit shocked that Rockstar didn't do this with GTA the Definitive Edition, unless I'm wrong, of course.
For not having loading screens. But the same thing happened with NPCs. The game had a list of generic actors for each area. If you entered a gang-controlled neighborhood, the game would load 3 gang member models into the memory and repeat them. And it did this everywhere using slight color variations. And this wasn't laziness, it was resource management. Every texture took up space, so they had to compromise and reuse models. And speaking of textures, let's talk about how the game looks. San Andreas on the PS2 has a very warm orange sky with a constant heat haze. Many will probably
Yeah.
remember this with nostalgia, but that orange haze in Los Santos isn't just there to make it feel like
Yeah,
Los Angeles
limitation
on a summer day. It's
to
there
hide
to
the
cover
game.
up the fact that buildings 3 blocks away just haven't loaded yet. The
Yeah.
draw distance, which is how far you can see before the world disappears, was very short on the PS2.
But I prefer this better than loading screens because you're still playing the game while all of this is happening. Because would you imagine, yeah, if you were driving and then there'll be a loading screen and it would be stuck for 10 seconds while you're in a mission? It would just be so jarring and take you out of the experience. So I definitely, yeah, this was way better than the alternative that they did.
If the game actually shows you the horizon as it is, you'd see the end of the world.
Ah.
An abrupt cut where the map simply ceases to exist.
Whoa.
So to hide this, Rockstar used atmosphere effects. But then there's the issue of the characters. In previous games, the characters had the same model throughout the whole game. In San Andreas...
Yeah, okay, I also wanna, I'm not sure if he talks about this as well, but I'm just gonna let the video continue on. This is an interesting key point. If he does bring it up, I'll be very happy, but let's let him continue.
CJ could gain weight, become muscular or lose weight. This meant the model had to constantly reform, which consumed a big amount of processor data. So again, sacrifices had to be made. The facial animations in the game are very basic, because there simply wasn't enough memory. The cutscenes use slightly better models, but...
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. In playing this game a lot and Vice City, there were always 2 different models that Rockstar would use, and I would always be so confused about it because wait, doesn't that increase the storage space? Like, why don't you just use the cutscene models for the gameplay? And actually, there was a mod that I used to use for that, but I'm guessing he explains this because it's a memory issue. But I don't understand that logic though. Wouldn't having one model decrease the memory, and then you could just change the animation rather than have one model and then another one? Yeah, I don't get that, but I don't really get that. So if somebody can list that in the comment section as well, that would be great.
Gameplay, the faces were almost plain masks. The programmers of this game used genius techniques to get the most out of the limitations they had. But when you play the remastered version today, or the PC or mobile versions, many of these limitations no longer exist. But funny enough, by removing these limitations, the game sometimes looks worse. Without the orange fog around the distant buildings, the map seems small and empty. The atmosphere of San Andreas on the PS2 was kind of the aesthetic of the game. Now, despite its limitations, GTA San Andreas became the most popular and best-selling game on the PS2. So what do you guys think of this game? Let me know it in the comments down below. Now this was it for today's video, guys.
The GTA San Andreas is one of my top 5 games of all time. I used to bang this game a lot. Maybe one day I'll do a playthrough of it on this channel. I've watched a lot of YouTubers play it. But yeah, it was very nice watching this video by MKTS. I'm gonna link the video in the description. And yeah, I want to plan on doing more informative videos of this when it comes to media content. So yeah, peace.